Doghouse Podcast is back. Got a great return guest, great friend, Coach Hayes from Coach Hayes' Huddle. How are we doing today?
Trey, my friend, last time I saw you, you were a single man. And now here we are on the married side of life, man. It's good to see you. Happy New Year to you, brother. And I'm glad to be here with you this evening.
Yeah, appreciate that. Just came back from the great honeymoon, Doha, Qatar. Got to say go Dogs from there, and Cape Town, South Africa. That was a great trip. But yeah, appreciate the blessings. Yeah, talking a little off-season talk is clearly the off-season now. Indiana won the national championship last Monday and beat Miami. I did want to ask real quick since that was on my brain. So were you I know you're watching as a neutral fan, so were you happy that we beat Carson Beck in Miami? Do you think how that is? I think it was a great story by Stignetti and the Hoosiers. But what was your thoughts on that?
I think the narrative would have been really negative either way we went, because no matter what happens, Big Ten wins, we're going to hear the Big Ten pundits. If Carson Beck and Miami win, we're going to hear the Carson Beck hate that had kind of been stirred around by the national media, which to me was completely false. I think the lesser of the two evils was to watch a Kurt Cignetti Indiana team win the national championship. And honestly, it was nice to see a good ball game. Unfortunately, Miami sort of surfaced and resurfaced the old Carson Beck mentality there towards the end. To see sort of just his mannerisms on the field, it almost reflected some of the things that we had noticed with the Georgia football program, but really just disappointed in, the narrative that was created and stirred up by how he was supposedly so, treated so unfairly when he was at the University of Georgia. I mean, he had never had anything but chances to win national championship, obviously to win an SEC championship, didn't get those things done, got hurt in the win against Texas, and obviously the unfortunate circumstances to lose by 3 against Alabama, and then we get screwed out of the playoffs that year, which is unprecedented compared to what we've watched the last 2 or 3 years since they've gone to 8 and now 12 teams. But, I have to say, to answer your question, that Indiana winning the national championship to me was the lesser of two evils. And, I think they deserve to win. They deservingly so won the ball game based off just being better talent-wise and being able to execute at a higher level, and did the right things when needed. I mean, Fernando Mendoza is a generational talent. I think he's going to do very well in the NFL, and very surprised at how he came on the scene and just took things over. But typically it's the calm before the storm. You saw what Kirk Cignetti had done the prior year, and then to bring all those pieces back and to see him put them into place with sort of the old school mentality of coaching and seeing what he did productivity wise it was a really special year for them. And I give them definitely the props that they deserve.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I think it was lesser two evils, definitely good for Georgia. Also, at the end of the day, Carson Beck, no ACC championship, no Heisman Trophy, no national title. So all's good, and hope best for him in the draft. So we'll see where he goes.
Will do.
Next thing I want to get your thoughts was Georgia in the transfer portal. I believe they picked up I believe it was 8 guys, and I believe they only lost 15, which I think from what I read is one of Kirby Smart's, I guess, best years of not losing any. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on, maybe even give us a grade on some key pieces that Georgia picked up.
You can actually add a 9th in there that we actually had incoming, because Bryson Beaver, even though he's not really considered to be a portal kid, they had to treat him as a portal transfer because he had already committed to Oregon and gone in as a mid-year. And so that put him into a situation where he had to be as part of the portal class. But yet, realistically, he's just replacing Jared Curtis as the quarterback commit for the 2026 class. So he kind of fits in both of the categories, as both a commit to with the portal kids, but he's also a 2026 commit as well. Tell you honest truth, Trey, I'm kind of staying away from putting a grade on what the portal brought in, because something that I've really been, and this is something I'm standing on, and this is something I want you to answer in the process as well, because what I'm beginning to notice are fans that want the best of both worlds. It seems like every year, we lose Zach Branch, Kobe Young, Noah Thomas, Dylan Bell, 4 guys that contributed very highly, other than Noah Thomas, who I think was underutilized. Obviously, Kobe dealt with a lot of injury through the years, and obviously the distraction he had last year. So we never got to see the consistency of those 4 together throughout the course of 2 years' time. And all of a sudden we lose Zachariah Branch. We lose those 4 I just aforementioned. And all of a sudden I hear fans all of a sudden saying, hey, we've got to go in the portal and get some wide receivers. We got to go get some wide receivers. And I'm like, I don't really agree with that. I think what's happening, what's the purpose of us signing a top 3 recruitment class every year, a top 5 recruitment class for that matter every year, if we don't ever get to see that talent emerge? And that's the reason why I'm saying is that you look at Talon Taylor, who I think is going to be heavily counted on this year. I know that for the fact of how much they tried to get him involved this year, even though he had some unfortunate circumstances, the drop against Alabama, the broken, I think it was a collarbone issue that he had. When he did finally come back, they tried to target him so many different times where either the pass pro breaks down or they just can't get him the football. And when they do, he drops it, the big pivotal play in the Alabama game. So it was just a tide of just being a freshman and learning the system and being able to come in and understand that a little bit better. But, you think about people like C.J. Wiley, who can also replace that Noah Thomas type. And obviously bringing in the Canyon kid from Georgia Tech, the kid from down, I think he's in Perry, Georgia area. I don't know why I can't remember where he's from. Rashawn Dinkins and goodness gracious alive. And Isaiah Gibson are from the same high school. I don't know why I can't remember. Warner Robins high school. But anyhow, bringing him in obviously helps solidify some positions. But if you look at the totality of what they brought in, I think they just fit some key pieces of need, from Dante Dowdle at the running back core to your 2 safety positions. Right now, I think we're very cornerback light. We're very heavy at safety, believe it or not. If you look at all the kids we've got coming back, I think that's going to be a big change in it as well, to see who our corners are going to be more than really who's going to fit the free safety, strong safety nickel combination. We should know that KJ Bolden should have the free safety position knocked down. So, I'm just going to say, for what the portal brings in, I'm going to say satisfactory, because I think it fits key positions of needs to add to personnel depth, but it doesn't suppress our recruiting talent that we have. So we finally get a chance to see those guys emerge. And the reason why I say that is when I said we can't have the best of both worlds, we can't sit there and continue to bring portal talent in and suppress our recruiting talent that we're trying to grow up and get better. Because as of now, if a kid has any kind of year in their freshman year, i.e. KJ Bolden, now Elijah Griffin, for example, on the defensive line, you look at those kind of kids, and all of a sudden by their junior year, that's their bag year. And we're not seeing them after their junior year, unless they might have been a red shirt and in there as a 4th-year red shirt junior. So, I don't know. It's one of those things. I feel like it's adequate what we replaced in the portal. And I'm going to call it satisfactory from Coach Smart and staff, but I'm not going to necessarily give it a grade, because what I want to see is Blackshear, CJ Wiley, Tyler Williams, Talon Taylor, and London Humphreys and Sokovia White-Hilton, who have stayed with the program and not gone out in the transfer portal, and see those guys grow together this year as your wide receiver core, for that purpose. I hit the wide receivers because that's what I heard a lot. Of course, it's across the board on the defensive side as well as the offensive side. So, if you look at the 9 we brought in, the one that I've done breakdowns on every one of them except for Tyquez Richardson from Alabama. I think it was Alabama State, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. It was a smaller school. If you could scroll down, is it Alabama? I want to say it's Alabama State.
Tyquez.
The Tyquez Richardson kid. Alabama A&M. I couldn't remember. I knew it was a smaller school in Alabama, but I can't even find any film on him right now. But out of the breakdowns, everybody wants to look at what Isaiah Canyon brings on the wide receiver side. I know a lot of people have talked to the Jamarly Riddle kid from the East Carolina, but I am really excited about Amaris Williams from Auburn. I think he adds a little dimension. I think he fits bringing in the defensive line positions, because we didn't lose very much. The attrition that we retained in the transfer portal is more of what I applaud from Coach Smart and staff right now, is the fact that we kept kids there. The percentage of kids leaving and the percentage of kids we brought in were a very small percentage. If you look at it on the SEC scale of 16 teams, we were on the lower end on both sides. And that just goes to show you've got kids wanting to stay at Georgia to play. We're not suppressing the talent. We're going to see the talent grow, and good things can happen when that all comes together.
Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. Completely agree. Great breakdown on that. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, share the Dawg House podcast. Got some good stuff coming up. I was kind of in on that. We maybe needed another wide receiver, but you touched on that, and I feel like they maybe know what they have. Some really young guys, C.J. Wiley, Blackshear, of course, Talon Taylor, who everybody's really excited about. I know we lost probably 6 or 7 of the top wide receivers in our production. What I wanted to ask, I know we had Canyon Kid. Who do you think our probably true number one is heading into next season, or maybe even the spring on the wide receiver side?
Well, I see the fact that you're going to definitely keep London Humphreys in the mix up. Z, I think Talon Taylor and London Humphreys are going to be your Z's. I think you're going to look at somebody like Sokovie White-Hilton playing the slot. If I had my personnel pulled up right now, I had somebody else with him in the slot position as well. And then I had C.J. Wiley, and I had the Isaiah Canyon kid from Georgia Tech playing that X position out wide. And we have such a plethora of tight ends, Trey, that honestly with Ethan Barbour, Elias Williams, even if we're in 12 personnel and we only have 3 receivers out there, Elias Williams and Ethan Barbour and that whole group, even Lawson Lucky, fit the modality of what we want in an inside receiver. So, I mean, you could even go 12 personnel. You could have Talon Taylor at your Z, Isaiah Kenyon or C.J. Wiley at your X, and your Y and your H are Elias Williams and Ethan Barbour. Go figure. There's a lot of combos that you can see in 11 personnel and 12 personnel. So I would have to say it has to come down to the fact of what does Thomas Blackshear do? What does Tyler Williams do? And like I said, there's a guy that for some odd reason I am missing because I went back and it's driving me nuts, Trey.
Craig Dangerous, maybe?
Craig Dandridge is a guy coming in. They got Ryan Mosley, Dandridge, and I'm looking right now at my
Jeremy
screenshot
Bell,
because it's driving me nuts which one that I'm missing right now out of that group. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
This had Canyon, C.J. Wiley, Tom Blackshear, and Ryan Mosley on the X.
Oh, I know who it is now. Person that nobody thinks about, and I saw him last year in the spring game. I can't believe I forgot this kid, Jeremy Bell. Jeremy Bell's the other kid that could be at that slot position with Sokovie White-Hilton. I watched him ball out in the spring game last year because we had so many injuries last year in the spring game. So he got a chance to play a lot of slot. I saw him catch slot fades left and right. He got viral for doing that dunk over the top of one of the linemen's heads in the summer last year. So don't be surprised if you probably see Jeremy Bell in that rotation as well, along with Blackshear, along with Tyler Williams. And then you got the 3 recruits coming in. Craig Daniels, to me, is to me, he's what I love. Devin Bellamy calls people the avatar. I mean, he's that guy that's that unique unicorn. He has size, speed, strength. He's probably going to fit the same profile as what Talon Taylor did his first year. They're going to see some ooh and ah factors out of him. He's going to be the one that's going to be showing up on everybody's map to start with. And then you've got Ryan Mosley out of Carrollton, and then the kid they just signed from North Oconee that kind of took the Brady Marchese kid from Cartersville. That's Dallas Dickerson, who I just actually did a breakdown on him about 2 or 3 days ago. He joins his and not forgetting, that makes me think of another one, Landon Rolden, who we haven't thought about it. He's also a North Oconee kid. So all of a sudden these names are popping back in my head because I had done a promo on them about 2 weeks ago. And honestly, I think that's the reason why I want to be able to see these wide receivers grow, because of what we're bringing in and what we're bringing back, and not suppressing them with so many receivers that we can't watch this talent become, what it's meant to be. I think you probably look at, again, London Humphreys starting Z, Sokovie White-Hilton fighting with Jeremy Bell for that starting slot, and you got C.J. Wiley and Isaiah Canyon over there fighting at that X position, and going forward with that. And then we'll just see who else shows up and competes, and Coach Coley decides, you know what, we've got to give this guy a chance. He's showing out too much against our, number 1 and number 2 D.
Oh. Yeah, completely agree on that one. Landon Rowland, that was the one that blocked the punt in the Bama game, right?
He blocked
Cole Spear.
No, that was Cole Spear. Cole Spear was a kid. He's a Calhoun kid. I actually coached Cole Spear when he was a 7th grader at Calhoun Middle School. Good kid, quality kid. He's the one that blocked it against Alabama. But Landon Rolden, if you remember Landon, he's the one who, when we ran the fake punt against Ole Miss, he's the one that completed the pass to Lawson Lucky on the fake punt.
Yeah.
That's Landon Rolden.
Yeah. I think it'll be young, talented, unproven. I'm sure a lot of people will point on that in the kind of preseason coming up, but could be a good surprising group. Tight ends are going to be loaded again. Lawson Lucky, Elias Williams, like you said. I wanted to ask about one kid. I know he really showed out in the playoffs, and you think he could play right away as he has advertised. How about the Caden Prothrow kid?
Caden Prothrow is also going to be that unicorn kid because he fits the profile of a wide receiver. He's kind of like Ethan Barbour. I'm really going to be surprised to see what they do with him. Are they going to line him down and have him blocking like they had Barbour and Elias Williams? Or does he have enough ass in him basically to do that? Or are they going to line him up out wide and just be a true 11 personnel tight end that can run basically like a wide receiver? In most of his film breakdowns, it's all from the receiver position, a stand-up Y who runs shallows, crossers, slot fades, digs, and things like that, and a quarterback that can get him to him. And he's, like I said, in the high school, a man among boys. To answer your question, he's also going to be that kid that everybody's going to be kind of talking about by probably midsummer. We're going to hear whispers about him as well. To me, him and Craig Dandridge are the two more than likely we're going to hear those whispers about. But, the thing is people get lost in the woods and go down these rabbit holes with these kids that are coming in, which I'm all for a kid showing out if he's good enough to play. Don't get me wrong, but I really am interested to see this group in front of them and see people like Tyler Williams, Thomas Blackshear, Landon Rolden, CJ Wiley, and Talon Taylor. That group right now will be sophomores next year, and I'm really interested to see how they add the depth to what we have in our experienced receivers, which are Canyon coming from Georgia Tech, Sokobe White-Helton, and London Humphreys. So I'll be very surprised to see what they do with him and how they're going to utilize him differently maybe than they did Ethan Barbour and Elias Williams.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot to think about there. Excited for spring practice, spring game. But yeah, that's a great breakdown. Yep. Also, one other on the negative side, or I guess if you look at it as negative, is any surprises or any guys that Georgia will miss on the guys that left the program?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, Trey, because, as I went down the list, the one thing that started making me look at all the, everybody talks about the DB class being loaded next year. At safety, we are. But when I saw Andre Evans leave, and I saw just those little small departures here and there, and then all of a sudden Dominic Kelly decided to leave. That's what really bothered me, because I was thinking with Dalen Everett going to the NFL, Ellis Robinson and DeMello Jones should have the two cornerback positions, CB1 and CB2. Dominic Kelly was that kid I was going to say, man, we're a turned ankle away where that kid's going to be the next cornerback. And because of what I saw this year on tape, his aggressiveness, his ability to cover, yeah, he was a little too aggressive, caused us some pass interference, but I'd much rather see him play aggressive than play, passively. So I was excited about him. And when he left, that immediately made me start diving into the true corners that we have. If you look at it, we have Ellis Robinson, we have DeMello Jones, we have Jonte Gilbert, who has seen very little to no action. Okay, he's still there. We have the two kids coming in that we got out of the transfer portal, which, like I said, position of need. Braylon Connolly from USC, who's got limited role play as well. And then you've got a Gentry Williams kid who has a lot of experience from Oklahoma, but he's been hurt. He didn't play hardly any. He missed the entire 2024 season. And in the 2025 season, off his medical red shirt, he only plays, I think, 5 games. He's had shoulder issues. So who's to say that he's going to be 100% healthy all year long this year? So hopefully we can see a healthy Gentry Williams, which could add some depth to the cornerback position. But I see us having to convert some safeties, Trey. We've got so many safeties that Khalil Barnes is not going to be probably converted. You've got Jamarly Riddle coming in from East Carolina is not going to be converted. You still got Zion Branch, who has not left. I haven't heard any word that he left, even though Zachariah declared for the NFL. I don't know why he would, honestly. You got Kyron Jones coming back. You've also got what Rashawn Dinkins did. I think that's why Janelle Aguero read between the lines and left to go to Ole Miss. But, maybe Dominic Kelly was not mixing very well. Maybe he wasn't a good team player. Maybe he was not necessarily the best practice player out there. It was when I see someone who has the potential to be pushing for a starting position and they leave in the portal, it gives me sort of that same vibe as Barry Alexander. Barry Alexander, same concept. Very good player for the most part. Really probably thought he was a little bit better than he was. Definitely was complimentary to who we had defensively that year and thought he was better than he was. And when he saw he wasn't getting the playing time he wanted, he left. And it's the same situation. If DeMelo Jones and Ellis Robinson, either one, get hurt, we're looking at those other guys plus potential of moving a safety to a corner position, trying to play that position. Because there's a big difference transitionally when you're looking at a safety. He's used to playing a lot of vertical stuff downhill on number twos, and now you're saying, okay, we want to lock you on an island on the wide side away from trips, and you got to cover this guy hip to hip. That's a big difference in what you're doing. So Dominic Kelly probably is my biggest sore spot of who left in the portal. Honestly, if I look at the rest of these guys, there's not a one of them I don't wish them well. I hope they find a home. I hope they do really well. There's probably one I do want to give a shout out to, and that's Pierce Sperling. Pierce Sperling going and finding a home at Colorado State after he was told he wasn't going to be able to ever play again, and then get medically cleared and then find a home at Colorado State. That's awesome to see him being able to continue his playing career. Chris Jones is another one that just I have a soft spot for him because I watched him from his junior year of tape up till this year. I'd gotten to know his mom and dad really well through social media, and I always supported Chris and all that he did. I thought he could be an asset this year considering he had gotten some playing time a little bit at the Jack stand-up. And but I know opportunities, the windows are very small now, and you want the opportunity to be drafted, you got to get your body on tape. And that's where some of these kids are unfortunately being suppressed down for transfer portal kids coming in and not having the opportunity to shine. So to answer your question, Dominic Kelly is probably the sorest one of the bunch because it not only takes away a quality player, but it takes away from the depth they had at cornerback as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure he got paid really well going to Ohio State, so can't blame the kid. But yeah, it'd be great to have him as depth. And then I think Kirby did a great job of holding on to a lot of guys and keeping them in house, as I say.
Yeah, honestly, to tell you the truth, that's what I like to look at. Other than trying to give a grade on the portal kids coming in and the ones leaving, hell, I like to say that we retain 90% of our roster basically. And to me, in today's world, when we're dealing with this, and I can't tell you how many times have you said it, Trey, where you go in today's world of NIL and the transfer portal, how many times does that come out of our mouth? For us to actually keep almost 92, 93% of our roster is pretty impressive with a lot of kids coming back with a lot of potential coming back.
Yep. Kirby Smart, one of the better coaches in the nation with roster management. So, yeah, he did great on that end. And another question I wanted to ask. So, Phil Rauscher, hopefully I said his name like, gets promoted to offensive line coach, younger guy, coached at Jacksonville Jags, which is great, and also Minnesota Vikings, I believe, on his resume. And looks like Stacy Searels takes a little bit of a step back as an analyst role. Wanted to see thoughts on that. And are you surprised there wasn't any other coaching changes that we don't know about or are upcoming? And are you surprised Kirby just kind of stayed put with the current coach staff?
I'm not surprised. Honestly, I was surprised even with Stacy's move. I really think that Stacy and I know each other pretty well. He's from the same hometown I'm from. I know his family very well. When I talked to him at the Kentucky game, I was able to just, kind of get a vibe of how things were going. He said it was a grind. He obviously understands the role that Kirby wants for his staff and what he's doing. But I think it was kind of a win-win situation because just like with everybody else, if you look, bringing in role players, you got these quality marketing guys and the analysts and the ones that do the different components as coming in as the quality control guys as analysts is what you want to be able to say is they come in and they become a secondary coach to the position group. So that's what Phil Rauscher did all year long. He learned the system. He got it under his belt. He's a 40-year-old kid who also has a lot more experience than a lot of people think. 10 years in the NFL with the Broncos, the Redskins, the Vikings, and the Jaguars. But he also was at the University of Hawaii as a graduate assistant before he took that 10-year span, that decade in the NFL. So he understands the recruiting side of things as well as the fact being a California kid. That's why he was out in Hawaii. But to be able to have that NFL experience, he went across the spread of a lot of different coaches. And when you do that, I think that's vital, because I was at 5 different high schools coaching. And I think it's vital when you go to each school that you take in what you have, and it lets you learn and grow and become a better coach, because you'll take a little piece from every place that you go to that makes you a better coach. Because there's one thing I learned from every head coach I went to, and that was, how to run the program, how to handle distractions, but there was also things in the X's and O room that I was like, wow, that's kind of cool to see that. I need to bring that into my repertoire. So, those are the things that Phil does. He's a 40-year-old kid. He's full of piss and vinegar. He's ready to get out there and go recruiting. And what I call new meat. When you have new meat, it makes a different dynamic. He's already got great rapport with the kids. Having the NFL experience, I think, allows them to feel comfortable to know that this guy knows what it takes to get it done. And I think he just brings a different vibe. Nothing against Coach Searels. I think Coach Searels did a hell of a job this year coaching that offensive line, trying to put basically a Band-Aid on a down break, basically what it seemed like ended up by the end of the year playing, 1 redshirt freshman and 2 true freshmen by the end of the year at center guard and tackle. And at different points of the year, I think he had at least one guy that was always hurt. I don't think he ever had the same 5, it seemed, for a steady period of time, maybe 2 games in a row where we didn't have an issue, or Ernest Green was hurt, or, Monroe was playing basically on one leg. Micah Morris was dealing with a wrist issue and a hand issue. And then you had that rotation, that open wheel of Bo Hewley and Merriweather and Michael Ewany, and those guys trying to come in and figure out who was going to replace. And that's where we found Dontrell Glover and Juan Gaston. So I think Stacy did a great job this year putting a unit together and trying to makeshift it week in and week out. And I think Phil helps that situation, because if you've ever coached offensive line as a coach, from my perspective, it is hard to watch 5 guys in unison do their job at the same time. You're typically going to focus on the point of attack, and it's not necessarily always going to be great coaching if you only got one guy watching it. And what I love about it, when you bring in John Lilly, who's helping, Coach Hartley with the tight ends, and he's also helping with the line too. You got Phil Rauscher. You've also got other graduate assistants that are working along with Stacy. I think that really helps build unison with your 5 guys working together well, because, he can pay attention to the front side 3, and Coach Rauscher could have been watching the backside 2. And, that helps better coaching. So they're really flipping spots. I see Stacy taking a step back due to the fact that he's just, getting up there in age. I think he's probably, I'm 51. He's probably about 60, 61. I think he graduated about 10 years before I did in high school. I remember watching, he was that kid playing ball on Friday nights at Trine, and I was the kid up in the stands running around playing throwback tackle in the behind the stadium seating. So, he's up there a little bit in age, and I know as you get up there in age, a lot of times that can mentally exhaust you. So maybe, for what he's doing, I think he's just kind of flipping roles. He's going to basically step back, be that secondary O-line coach, still continue to build that rapport, let Coach Rauscher take over, be the mechanism that moves the engine, and you still have good unison, you still have good rapport. And I think what it does is it takes away all the recruiting necessarily that Coach Searels would have had to done, because, I know Coach Rauscher's he's been up in Pennsylvania trying to work on their number 1 interior offensive lineman in that state, as well as in the nation. He was up there recruiting this past week. So I think it's a great fit. I think it's something new. So it gives us excitement to the fan base, seeing that newness, especially with those people who didn't necessarily understand Coach Searels as an offensive line coach, thinking that we needed something better, when realistically, I thought he did a great job this year.
Yeah, I like it. I like I said, some new meat, some new blood, and him having in NFL coaching ties and experience. I think that's always great. And younger, like I said, a little fire and passion. Be on it.
Yeah,
I did want to ask. They're losing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's nothing against those old guys either, because I'm up there now in age too. If I was coaching in high school, I'd be considered the old blood, the OG. And I know that as time goes on, the dynamics change when you have younger blood in there, because you just have guys that are going to be able to get after it a little bit differently than you do when you have guys that are older on staff. So kudos to Coach Smart for playing that chess game of getting Phil in there early, getting him to know those guys, and building that concept of, the scheme and everything that they want to do. And now Rauscher just gets to bring in his coaching personality to combine with what he already knows about the system.
Yeah, I completely agree. I did want to ask, so they are losing Monroe Freeling in the draft. So what do you think the O-line looks like for next season? And who's your top 5, you think?
It's going to be a difference of two tales because it's really what they're wanting to do with Juan Gaston. I know Juan moved out to tackle because of the issues they were having with Ernest Green being hurt majority of the time. And then when Monroe Freeland went down, and you saw a lot of Dontrell Glover beside Juan Gaston, they looked like a perfect guard tackle combo. But, Juan Gaston started off the beginning of the year being the starting guard. As I started to break down film on Gunnar Stockton this year on his dropbacks, I've watched the first 5 games. I mean, Juan Gaston was your starting right guard. Micah Morris was your starting left guard, Monroe Freeling and Ernest Green. So with Monroe Freeling and Micah going to the draft, it's easy to say, well, Ernest Green, Juan Gaston become your tackle combo. You got to replace Micah Morris now. Who's going to be your next guard? It seems to fit that Daniel Calhoun, because this is a kid that was supposed to be your starting guard last year, got hurt, and all of a sudden just got taken over by the time we got to the Marshall game because he just never got healthy, never got a chance to take on his role, and just basically got left behind because, they had guys that were in there getting those reps and getting better and more experience each game. I think Daniel Calhoun comes back on the scene. So it's really going to depend on, do we have a better need to fit the tackle position or the guard position? And as I look at our guys that are behind, I would say right now we're probably more fit. I would like to have Juan Gaston back down as a guard and figure out who that other tackle position is going to be. And maybe Daniel Calhoun can fit that. If he's not big enough to play that, they flip it back and let Juan play the tackle position, let Daniel be the guard. But there's going to be 3 or 4, just like we're talking about with the receivers a while ago. Well, I think we're going to see a guy that we're not talking about right now, that we're just not, he's just not on the radar. And I haven't had a chance to do a real big breakdown on the kids that are sophomores this year. That will be either your redshirt sophomores or just straight up juniors next year. But you can't take away from what Malachi Tolliver did this year as well. Mm-hmm. Typically, centers can be moved to guard too, and they may fill out with Bobo coming back that Tolliver could fit that guard position as well. So with the depth, I'm just going to go with a knee-jerk reaction of moving Juan Gaston and leaving him at tackle and putting Daniel Calhoun and Micah Morris' spot at that guard position with Bobo and Dontrell Glover and Juan Gaston on the other side. With Ernest Green on the other side. So that's kind of my fit right now. It'll probably change 16 times before we get to August, though.
Yeah, excited to hear about that. Good breakdown on that end. Yeah, Coach Hayes, appreciate you coming on again. Always giving great knowledge, X's and O's, and all kind of nuggets. What's a good way that we can follow you on social media?
Well, Trey, I appreciate you having me on. If you're following, guys, I appreciate the fact that Trey takes the time to go through all the analytics with different people that are on the show. Those of you who get a chance to watch the show, make sure you follow and subscribe to Trey's podcast as well. If you ever find me, I am under Coach Hayes Huddle, Huddle spelled HUDL. I do film breakdowns, analytics on players, analytics on recruits. I am going to start an X's and O program as well, showing the film on just football 101 for people who want to understand that better. You can find me on every social media platform there is. If you click on the bio in any of my platforms, there is a link tree that'll take you to anyone that your heart's desire, from TikTok to YouTube to X to Facebook to all the different ones that are out there. I am there. So definitely always appreciative of Trey having me on the show. And like I said, just recently I've started a Patreon account as well. So if you are interested in getting more in-depth analysis from the X's and O's of things and seeing, what actually happens in those ball games where you can talk at the water cooler on Monday morning and have a little more insight from it, I'm your guy. So Coach Hayes Huddle. And like I said, again, Trey, appreciate you having me on tonight, buddy.
Yeah, definitely check out Coach Hayes. Getting close to that 3,000 subscribers, and he's over 7,000 on Twitter. So yeah, he's going, man. Appreciate you coming on again.
Trying to, my friend. Take care of yourself. Have yourself a blessed evening.
You too. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse podcast. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.